Hello, movie friends. Welcome back to our show. This is Anthony.
And this is James. We just saw Eternals. We had a great time. We checked out an IMAX at AMC because we are hodling like always. And we have the A-list.
We have the Stubbs list. It's great.
Yeah, we've been obviously excited to see Eternals. It's the biggest MCU film probably since Avengers Endgame, you could say, in terms of the scope and size and what it means to the future of the MCU going forward. Directed by Academy Award-winning director Chloé Zhao. Written by Chloe as well as Patrick Burleigh, Ryan Firpo. It made $71 million opening weekend. It just came out, so that's fantastic news. I think that's the highest of all Marvel films since the pandemic began last year. It's currently rotten at 48% on Rotten Tomatoes, but has an 81% audience score, so don't get upset. It's the same thing with Man of Steel. You know, Man of Steel is rotten, amazing audience score, so I like to stick to the audience score generally for me personally. And you can only see this in theaters at the moment, but it will be on Disney Plus eventually on December 20th.
And Eternals was a good movie. You know, it's a movie with 12 new characters that you never heard of before. So I think they did a good job of trying to introduce these brand new faces to us. The filmmaking is really great, excellent cinematography. The CGI is awesome. I think they did a great job with the stunning production they unfolded for this. It's much different for a Marvel film, and obviously, most notably, this film did an exceptional job with its casting, with a diverse cast, with including all sorts of different kinds of people, including all sorts of cultures from around the world. You know, you're in Mesopotamia and other ancient civilizations, so it's not just Western civilizations, it's all sorts of cultures globally, which I think they did an amazing job with.
Yeah, its scope is huge, and what I like about it the most probably is that it feels the most unique compared to other Marvel movies. It doesn't really feel like an MCU film that we've seen before. I feel like at points it tries to be, which I think it would work best if it just didn't try to be at all, but you know, it's a Marvel movie, so you got to at some point. There are a ton of huge concepts in this, especially dealing with humanity. Also, a ton of connections to the Avengers. There's even connections to mutants and also what the future of the MCU will look like. Tons of reveals. So I think this film was kind of like, it laid the foundation, what it felt like, for what the future of the MCU is going to be, what the characters will be going forward, kind of plot lines, kind of characters. I mean, we got reveals. Obviously, we're going to be jumping into some spoilers here, so if you haven't seen it yet, wait a second and then leave this because I'm gonna spoil some stuff. We got like we finally heard Blade's voice. Mahershala Ali is Blade at the second post-credit scene, which that's my most anticipated MCU movie.
Very excited for that.
So I can't wait. I heard his voice. I'm like, let's go. And then we also got the Black Knight with Kit Harrington. We get Harry Styles at the end as Eros, who's also Skyfox or Night Fox. Skyfox is the other name, Thanos' brother. So tons of reveals, tons of connections, all sorts of fun Easter eggs that, yeah, I feel like I got to watch it again with a notepad to like count all the fun Easter eggs because they even name drop like Batman and Superman and stuff. So it's so fun what Chloe did with in terms of expanding the mythology of superheroes and connections in the world of the comic book world.
And it really felt like one of her films because the Marvel movies ultimately, they do generally look mostly the same, but then Chloé Zhao, her filmmaking, it was really imprinted on this film. You could tell if you've seen her other work, it feels like she directed it.
It's like Ragnarok with Taika Waititi.
Yeah,
it felt
exactly.
different. You know, it changed the tone. I think that's what this film did. It set the tone going forward for the MCU.
And this cast is absolutely stacked. And let's just go over the characters real quick because there are a lot of major characters. It's like an Avengers movie without knowing any of the Avengers.
It's a little complicated.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen it, we can fill you in. So Gemma Chan plays Cersei, and she is an Eternal, and every Eternal has a different kind of power, which is all, you can say, powered by the Celestial Force.
Should we explain what an Eternal is first?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so the Eternals were created by Celestials. Celestials are, you could say, they predated the Infinity Stones, and I guess the Big Bang and everything. And so they helped create humans. They placed the Eternals and created them there on Earth and all these other planets around the galaxy to ensure the progression of intelligent life. I believe that's what it's about. And then Celestials,
and also like a Celestial's birth brings about the formation of planets and stars.
Well, then the destruction
of
planets.
Yeah, and also the destruction,
because they are birthed inside the energy source of a planet, and then when they are hatched, you could say, from their egg, they destroy that planet, which is the main conflict at the end of the film. And so the Eternals were created by the Celestials to protect the peoples and civilizations of these planets, whereas the what are the other things called? The Deviants, they're also created by Celestials, and they are placed on these planets to get rid of the alpha
animals,
or the apex predators. That are sent to destroy those so that the intelligent life can thrive and survive.
So the Celestials, they need intelligent life to spread and thrive on these planets because they provide the necessary power and life force for a Celestial to be birthed from inside the planet, which is why when Thanos snapped his fingers and took away half the population of the universe, especially on Earth, and since there was a Celestial buried within the Earth, it stopped the process of that Celestial ever emerging. And then once the Avengers came back and Iron Man snapped his fingers and reset it all back, and all of those people were instantly zapped back to Earth, that provided an instant influx of life force, which is creating the emergence that was stopped before, which is causing the Celestial inside the Earth to emerge.
Because what does Ajax's character says? She says that like Thanos slowed down or delayed
it. She basically delayed it.
For the Celestial that's buried inside of Earth is named Tiamat. Tiamat. Sorry, there's a lot of names. If we mispronounce any or get any wrong, we're sorry. We've only seen it once, and it's like there's like 20 new characters that are really important. All right, let's go through the Eternal story. We got Cersei, and then Richard Madden plays Icarus.
Well, Cersei, she can change the physical makeup of matter of things, so she can change like stone into whatever she wants, or like she turns that bus into flowers.
Well, isn't it at first it's like inanimate objects, but then she can figure out she can do it to life forms because she changes that one into a tree.
The deviant into a tree. Yeah.
All right, then we have Richard Madden as Icarus, based on what I like about this film is the mythology elements. We have all these fun elements in terms of Athena with Angelina Jolie, Icarus, that old myth. I think it was a Greek myth with flying too close to the sun. So Richard Madden as Icarus is basically Superman. He's got the beams that come out of his eyes, and he flies, and it's just a guy with a good jawline.
Chloé Zhao said she based it on Man of Steel's Superman.
I got a lot of vibes from Man of Steel in this film in terms of like the mythological elements, but also like bringing realism to these super powerful beings.
How it's depicted.
Yeah, it's like grounding them on Earth.
Because like that one sequence where he's flying and fighting that deviant, and they go into the forest, it's a long take, and she doesn't cut that much, and it's not too much editing, so it really makes you feel like you're in the moment with Icarus, and Zack Snyder did the same thing with Man of Steel.
Yeah, because when I saw Man of Steel, I'd never seen action like that before in my life, and it blew me away. And I got a very similar vibe to Zoe Klau's direction with this film and everything.
Again, another reason why Man of Steel is underrated.
Super underrated. It's one of the best superhero movies ever made. My goodness, people are such haters.
And then Angelina Jolie plays Athena, and her power is that she can create weapons using cosmic energy. Kind of reminds me of what's her name? Hela from Thor Ragnarok, where she can create the weapons just from within her body.
Great connection.
Thank you.
And she basically is based off Athena. But the cool thing is, like, the Eternals have been on Earth for thousands of years before human beings, basically. So, like, all these myths and legends are based off of them, which is kind of funny and cool. And I love how they play with that. Then we have Salma Hayek as Ajax, and she's a healer, and she can also communicate with the Celestials as well.
Then Kit Harrington plays Dane Whitman, who's the human among the main cast, and he will eventually become the Black Knight. But he's friends with Cersei in the film. He works at the school. He's a teacher, and so his family line, like his father and his grandfather, were different versions of the Black Knight.
And then Camille Nanjiani is Kingo, who shoots celestial beams out of his fingers like finger guns, which is pretty cool. He's literally just like a couple of revolvers.
Yeah, the funniest part of the film. He's very
he's a super funny guy.
Yeah. And then Leah McHugh plays Sprite. She's great. And Sprite creates illusions, but it's not like Doctor Strange because they're not physical. They're just like how Loki creates those illusions.
But can't Loki's you interact with them as well?
Oh, I don't know if you can.
I think so. I'm pretty sure you can.
I thought because doesn't Thor throw a rock at him to see if he's real?
Someone's going to have to correct us on that.
No, because Thor, like when he goes inside the prison, Thor throws something at him to see if he's real, and it goes through him.
Maybe not all of his illusions are like that. Maybe some
I think
of them
they did it with the TV show, but it wasn't done like that in the movies.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
I think they kind of changed that in the show.
We could be wrong, but
I'm pretty sure about
someone not correct us, but let us know if we're right or wrong. The truth behind Loki's illusions. And then Brian Tyree Henry is Phastos, who his powers are basically like technology manipulation. He's actually
He's wicked smart too.
A really important character because he really adds the emotional depth to the story and the characters, and I think we feel a lot through his eyes.
He's the only Eternal who's actually started his own family in the real world with another human being. So that's definitely an interesting dynamic. You know, he's immortal and his husband is gonna die one day, so he
has a child.
Yeah, so it's interesting for sure. Mm-hmm. And then Lauren Ridloff, she plays Makari, and she's just basically like a speedster, like the Flash. I like how they depicted her power in this film a little. Like they strayed away from slow mo and more just made the environments speed past her, which is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. I like Makari a lot, and I love the speedster element because we'd seen Quicksilver multiple versions of that the last few years. We've also seen Barry Allen with the Flash in the DC universe, so I think it was important to do it a new kind of way, and I think they pulled it off, and it's really interesting. I love Makari. She's probably maybe one of my favorite of the Eternals, like top 3 for sure.
Nice.
Super interesting character. Barry Cogan as Druid. He has sort of mind control. You know, he controls the minds of many humans throughout the history of civilization, which is, I think I like him a lot too because he's sort of a morally ambiguous character, especially towards the end of the film. We don't know, is he good, is he bad, or what's going on with him in the future of the MCU.
And also they find him, he's like got his own cult, which is pretty unethical. He's controlling how these people in this village are out, like interacting and thinking. So he has a morally gray center for sure for a character.
Which for him he has to because he's in so many cool movies of like playing dark characters.
He's great at it.
So I wouldn't expect him to be like a straight-laced character in general. So that's why I think it's so awesome to see someone like him in this as a character actor.
And also, if you could do that, that would be very tempting to do dark things.
For sure,
yeah,
for sure.
Nefarious things.
Yeah.
And then Ma Dong-suk, he plays Gilgamesh, and he basically has like super strength and punches people really hard. Is his superpower.
And dude, Ma Dong-suk,
he does the same thing in Train to Busan.
That's what I was like watching. I'm like, where do I know this guy from? Train to Busan, an excellent zombie movie from South Korea.
He wraps up his arms with a magazine. He just
goes to
What
town.
I love about that movie is all the other people, they get weapons to fight the zombies, and he's just like wraps up his forearms. He's like, let's fucking go, and he just keeps punching the zombies in the face. It's amazing.
So that pretty much wraps up all the Eternals, correct?
Correct.
All right.
And I really like you said, the use of how the Eternals are in mythological stories, and this movie does a great job of integrating, moments of history, flashbacks to ancient cultures, and getting to the backstories. I think that the only way you could pull off this movie by teaching the audience about these different characters is not doing it all at once, like not having learn all the characters in the first 30 minutes. It probably was a better idea to spread it out because you're still 2 hours, like an hour and a half into the movie, then you meet someone else, and then you meet someone else. So it's not like we met them all up first. So I think that if they did it all at once, it would have been overwhelming. And so spreading it out across the 2-hour runtime, meeting all these Eternals and learning their backstories was probably a much wiser way to tell the story.
Yeah, but it's still complicated and complex. I think that's the biggest flaw of the film. There are a few. Not that I didn't like the movie, but, it's got this immense scope and so many important characters and lots of exposition, lots of jumping back and forth between timelines, lots of flashbacks. Combine that with the 2-hour, 37-minute runtime. I understand why, it's rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. I understand why a ton of people don't love the experience of going there. But I think that because they have to, this again is like the foundation of going forward with the MCU. They had to do all of that. I think they had to set it up. They had to set up the Eternals, the Celestials, because I think, with Thanos as the big bad in the original like MCU phase 2 and 3, right? That seemed fine with one person, and especially someone as powerful as Thanos. But it seems like going forward, the new villains are going to be even more powerful than Thanos, probably, and more of them rather than one. So I think they have to lay the foundation here with Eternals.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it could have probably worked better as a miniseries, I would say,
or 2 films. I think.
Yeah, 2 films, a 2-parter, or even just like an 8-episode series. But I think they wanted to really address moments of the cinematic universe and, like you said, provide a jumping off point for the future. So it's okay, and I think it's okay if Marvel doesn't make an amazing movie every time.
Every time you see an MCU movie, it doesn't have to be the best we've ever seen. This is probably like mid-tier for me, like maybe top 10, maybe not.
I would say it's not top 10 for me.
I'd have to see it again.
I would say it's mid-tier. I would say it's like around like 20 to 15.
Which is totally fine.
And I think that it's okay like there are Marvel movies I don't think are very good at all. You know what I mean?
Like I think another problem is the weak villain. So I would say it's kind of like Thor 2. You have a weak villain, a kind of weak pacing. So like it's not amazing, but it's still a good time.
Yeah, and also the main deviant villain, he doesn't form until like an hour and a half into the movie himself.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's sort of weak.
Yeah, and it's kind of, you don't really know who the main villain is at first, and it ends up being Icarus, obviously one of the main villains of the film.
Well, yeah, because like we talked about how the Celestials are born inside of a planet and they're going to have to destroy Earth to birth the Tiatim. Yeah. So in order for Tiatim to be born and hatch from his egg, he has to destroy every being on Earth.
Earth's just an egg.
Yeah, Earth is literally just an egg for these Celestials, which is a crazy concept. It's pretty interesting.
It makes you, it's a great metaphor for how small we are in the universe.
I love that. There's a
a
lot of big ideas in this film, which I really like about it when you analyze it like that.
And also, the characters go through a big reveal and conflict because they learn that they are not like sentient. They were created.
Yeah.
And they basically had no choice, and their will was lied to. Their ideas and their motivations were lies.
Yeah, so the battle at the end where basically half of them, you could say it's like split up between half of them want to stop the hatching of the Celestial from Earth because they've fallen in love with human beings and they want to give humans a chance, whereas the other half, they kind of agree with what the Celestials' purpose are and what their purpose are in terms of being there. It's not up to them really, but that causes the fight, that causes Icarus to in his relationship with Cersei to end, and that's what causes their split basically, and then he loses and flies into the sun to basically off himself, which is a pretty literal way of fulfilling his destiny or prophecy, which was predicted by Sprite, I believe, right? So it's pretty interesting, but I like the concept of them fighting because they can't all agree on what they should do.
Yeah, because they thought they were meant to protect humans from deviants, but ultimately they were as a way to provide more life force for the Celestial hidden within, which they weren't aware of. The only thing that I was confused about is that concept, because the Celestials want as much life force on the planet as possible to birth Tiatum. I'm so bad with this word.
Just call him T for short.
Big T.
Big, legit, very big T.
So they wanted Big T to emerge. So, and I understand, like, they're like, because Dane was like, why didn't you help out with Thanos and all the other terrible things that happened on Earth throughout history? And Cersei's like, we were sworn not to get involved in human matters, only deviant matters. I understand that, but also it wouldn't really make sense to let Thanos kill half the population if you want the Celestial to be birthed. You know what I mean? So for me, that concept kind of like made me very confused of like, shouldn't they have gotten involved if like the population's at risk, at such a high risk? And the Celestials could have been like, yo, this guy's trying to off-haul all of our life force. We need you to stop this guy. Then we'll go back to deviants.
Well, I think because Thanos isn't a deviant, or he has like deviant gene. Don't they hint that he's either celestial,
part deviant,
part celestial,
both.
And part deviant?
Yeah.
So maybe because he's not a full-on deviant, they couldn't, fulfill the destiny of protecting humans.
No, I know. I thought for me,
I get it.
I
get it. It's a complicated plot.
Yeah.
It's a complex story in a lot of ways. But again, I think I enjoyed it a lot. And
I think the cast is the highlight of the movie. I think they all did a wonderful job.
I love the visuals too, and the music by Ramin, who did Game of Thrones and everything. So he does.
They got the whole Game of Thrones crew.
Yeah,
in this.
For sure.
2 Starks and the guy who did the music,
and the character's named Cersei too.
yeah.
So I like the vibe of like the cosmic Oregon vibe, like Hans did with Interstellar, obviously. So I enjoyed the music a lot. I enjoyed the cinematography. Tons of great visuals. It was a really beautiful film, very pretty. Tons of golden hour filmmaking, which Chloe loves to do, which is right before sunset. And
it's something that I always wish they had done with Thor, of getting deeper with mythology. Like, I would have liked to see the influence of Norse mythology, of that world on Norse culture. You know what I mean? That's something I always wanted from the Thor movies. So I like how they addressed mythologies related to these characters.
Well, speaking of, there were the fun references to Thor and Asgardians, and so like, how are they going to fit in with the Celestials and going forward? Maybe we'll get some sort of hints at Eternals and Celestials and Thor: Love and Thunder. Who knows? I mean, that's what's cool about it. And then so just tons of connections and possibilities, which I really like. And obviously Odin's name is dropped as well too. So it's kind of interesting to see where they're going to be going forward, and I think the Black Knight, it's going to be, I was looking into the character, he seems like such a cool character, and
His sword looks sick.
yeah, and so like he gets the ring, and he opens up the sword at the end of the film in the post-credit scene, and we hear Blade's voice with talking to Dane Whitman. When he's, sure, ready for that, Mr. Whitman? I loved it. I can't wait. I've been waiting for Blade more than anything. I'm so excited for that film to finally hear Mahershala's voice as Blade. Sounds perfect.
It might be my most anticipated Marvel movie ever. Blade.
Maybe. Well, I think Iron Man I was very excited about.
Yeah, but Iron Man I was more curious than excited.
But Avengers, remember, everyone was so juiced about Avengers because we've never seen anything like it. But now it's the norm to have like a big team up like that.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So, but I'm very excited for Blade. So I can't wait to actually see him as the character. I'm curious what the wardrobe, costume, what his fighting style is going to be like. I'm just very excited, and also there is a mention of a vampire in this one as well.
A few times, yeah.
I'm very curious how Marvel will depict vampires because, vampires are bloodthirsty beasts that, kill and feed on the blood of humans. So I'm sure it's obviously going to be PG-13, so, but it has to be pretty graphic and violent, I think.
Yeah, and will Morbius have something to do with Blade in his film going forward?
Good idea. Interesting.
Because he's a vampire.
Because Sony is in association with Marvel nowadays.
Yes,
so they could be connected.
They work together, so
Sony's like, we need your help.
yo,
help us.
Spider-Man made a lot of money. the new Spider-Man's going to make like $8 billion.
You guys want Venom? We'll give him.
Yeah, you can have Venom. Go for it. Yeah, sure. Love the ideas. Can we have a logo in the opening? All right, cool, thanks.
Amazing. But all in all, I think this was a good movie. It's not my top 10 Marvel, because there's some really great Marvel movies, so it's hard to crack that top 10. I mean, there's almost 30 films.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I would say this movie's not terrible. Bad reviews, I understand them, but I mean, I think this is a mid-tier Marvel. Like you said, this is, I feel like a setup to Phase 5, so I think that it was difficult to pull this movie off for that reason, plus the gigantic main cast of characters. It's really difficult to pull off, so I think that they took a big swing. They did a good job, and I think Chloé Zhao handled it really well.
Yeah, again, huge cast, tons of new characters. I like how they killed some of them off. I think it's important to, you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet.
Plus, they already have way too many characters.
Yeah, so it's like, were they each going to get their own movie now?
Marvel's got like 60 characters now.
At least, of leading characters of movies and TV
nuts.
shows. It's pretty insane how it just grows more and more every year. But again, I'm looking at this as the foundation of the MCU going forward. So I enjoyed it, had a good time. Understand, like you said, how people aren't feeling it. It's a very long film.
It's not a perfect movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When you're doing
and that's okay.
All the flashbacks and everything. It's fine.
Marvel misses sometimes. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's a good time. I enjoyed it. We had fun at IMAX. It looked great. All right. So thanks everybody for tuning into our little mini review of Eternals. I'm sure we will revisit this film again at a later point for sure when we talk about the MCU going forward. This episode is brought to you sponsor-free because of our amazing patrons. So thank you so much to everyone who's becoming a patron. Stay tuned. In a week or two, we are dropping our masterclass online course for how to become a podcaster, how to start a podcast.
Drops on November 16th.
Or how to improve your already existing podcast. Super in-depth. It's like 7 hours of content.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be super intense. We got 22, 23 chapters in there, something like that. So all the secrets behind the scenes of how we have found our success with our show. So thanks so much for tuning in. Get excited for that. We'll do some discounts and stuff and maybe a giveaway. But everyone, thanks for tuning in.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Raiders of the Lost podcast. Be sure to subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button, leave a comment. Find us on all audio streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us. Find us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Raiders of the Lost podcast. Be sure to check out one of these other videos right here for more content on our favorite films and breaking down all kinds of movie content. Thanks so much.